Boy, the New Yorkers did something that I don't even know they really understood what they just did. You know, they produced not a liberal in the traditional sense, more of a communist, more of a radical, more of a, I don't know, kind of maybe a Hamas light kind of guy. He is. Do you know after the election yesterday or the day before? Do you know what happened to the word communism on Google? It just like shot through the roof. Everybody's like, "Why is communism?" Oh, you just elected one. Now's the time to look that up. Sure. I was reading about this guy last night. It's crazy. He openly praised a communist mayor in India. She's a 21-year-old girl. And he said in 2020, he posted this girl and said, what does a good New York City mayor look like? Like this. And it's this 21-year-old girl. She's backed by the Communist Party of India. She's a Marxist, a communist, openly. She romanticizes revolution and centralizes control under the illusion of service. I like this one. She has volunteers that she's put together called Red Volunteers. And they're not campaign aides. They patrol the streets. Oh, that's good. This is what the mayor of New York, the possible new mayor of New York, is saying is a good thing. They enforce public behavior. They operate outside of formal legal systems. They're not city staff, and they're party loyalists. So you got that one party loyalist, which is great because she's also staffing everybody who is loyal to the Communist Party. See, that's the one thing the communists don't like in the end is anybody who disagrees with them. So the winner of the primary, he didn't just admire her youth. He really loves her politics. If you're a working person, you have a business, you like food on your table, you might want to wake up, because I don't think this is just New York. This is going to happen all across the country. And finally, we're going to get it. But be careful what you wish for because we haven't seen the economy really turn. The average person is still really hurting. And while Donald Trump has made some really good inroads on things, generally speaking, they have been global in nature. And he really needs to juice this economy. And if the big, beautiful bill, the main thing in that he needs is that permanent tax cut. If that doesn't happen, it's a disaster. Disaster. So let me get back to New York. They have been bleeding wealth. They have had $14 billion in income vanish since 2020. Okay, $2 trillion in managed assets are rumored to be next. Now, that's not the rich being greedy. They're being rational. When a city even toys with the idea of a city-run grocery store, punitive taxes, cultural purge of enterprise, capital doesn't sit around and argue. It just leaves. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to stay here. Now, let me show you what happened just yesterday that nobody's paying attention to. And you need to. I shouldn't say nobody. The Wall Street people are watching this. You need to because this is a massive, massive signal. On Wall Street, there's called the Real Estate Investment Trust. And what they are is these groups that own and manage all the office properties, and they lease all of the space in New York. Now, the people who invest in those properties, they worry about occupancy trends, rental rates, remote work, crime perception, the migration of business and capital out of the city. Okay, they know that office occupancy is already at near record highs. Haven't hit the Great Depression yet, but near record highs of 25% in Manhattan already. Interest rates are high. Their buildings are becoming worth less and less and less because nobody's staying in New York. Because of crime, taxes, business flight to Florida and Texas and elsewhere. Yesterday, what happened? There was a double-digit drop among that group which is well beyond typical, okay? It ranks among the largest single-day percentage drop, significantly worse than most down days, and only really rivaled by COVID. You know, COVID, when people who owned buildings went, holy crap, no one's going to be able to use this building or pay for this building for God only knows how long. Yeah, that's the only time it's been beaten in this drop. Why? Because they didn't have to look up communism. They know what communism is. Let me look at history here. Let me just show you some history. This is going to boggle your mind. What is the American city that has done this before? Well, let's look west, young man. Let's go to Seattle. Seattle, it was the Emerald City. Engineers, creatives, financiers, waterfront towers, great housing, just a great place to live. Then the city handed itself over to a woman named Kshama Swant. She was a self-described socialist, a democratic socialist, a.k.a. communist. She was elected in 2013, and that's when things in Seattle started to smell like the streets of San Francisco. Her policies immediately attacked private property, demonized profit, treated the police as an enemy of the people. She praised, just like the candidate in New York, she praised the global intifada, not as a metaphor, but as a model. And what does that mean? That has nothing to do with the Middle East. That means you are the Jews. America is Israel. And it has to be stopped at all costs. So get them. Okay? It doesn't mean, it has nothing to do with Israel. It has everything to do with oppressed people rising up and taking to the streets and just burning it all down. Okay. Under her influence, businesses closed, property values fell through the floor, and Chaz, the so-called Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, was allowed to form. Well, that was a dream come true, wasn't it? Police were told, you don't go in there, you have to retreat. And this once great American city just ceded territory to an ideology. When that happened, all the capital started to go away, okay? Amazon started saying, I don't know if we're going to stay here. Microsoft, I'm not sure if we're going to stay. Everybody, Seattle's decline accelerated. Today, there are homes around Lake Washington, which used to sell within minutes of somebody even whispering that it could be sold, okay, that it was up for sale. They're now sitting idle. There are all kinds of property around Lake Washington that would have sold immediately. They wouldn't have to go on the market. Many of them are not on the open market because nobody wants people to know they're getting out of Seattle. So what happens? What happens when this scales? Well, let me just show you what happened without communism, just with democratic policies. Let me show you. What does a collapsing city actually look like? Because this is what's coming to New York. This is what's coming to America if we don't stand up and wake up. So let me start in Detroit. Do you know in 1962, America was known as America's greatest city? It was the center. It was the arsenal of democracy. It was crazy great. 1962. 1962 was also the last year that they had a Republican mayor. Since then, the city has become just a case study in decay. Blight swallowed all the neighborhoods. Crime replaced the commerce. In 2013, Detroit declared the largest municipal bankruptcy in history. Now, that's Detroit. Now, let me take you to St. Louis. Republican leadership there ended in 1949. Today, it is one of the worst and most violent cities in the Western world. Baltimore. You know, Baltimore has never been under Republican control in the modern era? Not once. New Orleans. Democratic control since Reconstruction. And look at those cities. They're all just beautiful cities, aren't they? Let me expand the list. Here are the 15 most blighted cities in America. Detroit, last GOP mayor, 1962. Flint, Michigan, no GOP mayor ever. Baltimore, no GOP mayoral control in the modern time. Cleveland, Ohio, the last GOP mayor was 1989. St. Louis, last GOP mayor, 1949. New Orleans, no GOP mayoral control. Youngstown, Ohio, no GOP mayoral control. Camden, hadn't been there for a long, long time. Philadelphia, can't even find it. Memphis, no GOP mayoral control. Jackson, Mississippi, same. Buffalo, New York, same. Pittsburgh, same. Cincinnati, the last GOP mayor, early 20th century. Milwaukee, nope, it's the same. Each one of these cities ruled for decades, even as much as over a century, by one party, and each of them in various stages of collapse. Now, let me compare. Let me compare and contrast. Let me see if, hello, New York, maybe you can pay attention to this. Those cities that have Republican-led or governed with center-right principles, are the statistics the same? Well, let me just show you. Democratic-controlled cities, forever. Republican-controlled cities, basically forever. Unemployment rate in Democratically controlled cities, 6.5 to 8.5%. Republican, 3.4 to 4.2%. Violent crime per 100,000. Democratic cities, 1,500 to 2,000. Republicans, 390 to 775. Population change over the last 10 years. Democrats decline 3 to 6%. Why? Growth in Republican areas, 8 to 12%. In democratically run areas and cities, the debt per taxpayer, $20,000 to $57,000. That means every taxpayer, you want to pay off the debt for the city, you got to write a check for $57,000, every single taxpayer. In Republicans, you'd have to write a $1.9 thousand check, so $1,900 or $3,100, compared to $57,000. Homelessness per 10,000 people, 26 to 35 in Democrats, 9 to 21 in Republican city. Graduation rate, 75 to 78% in Democratic cities. Republicans, 87 to 90. Now, listen, I want you to know, usually you would say these conclusions don't shout, they scream. But that's not right. These conclusions don't shout, they whisper. Let me explain that next. First, let me tell you about Byrna and the Byrna launcher. You know, we spend a lot of time thinking about safety. I saw a video of a woman on the subway in New York, and she's like, I am tired of this. I never feel safe. I never feel safe in New York. Of course not. Of course not. You know, one way you can feel safe, even in a place in New York or California where you can't own a gun, you can own a Byrna launcher. And that is a tool that you can use where you can't carry a gun, or if you carry a gun and it's the situation calls for non-lethal defense. This fires high-speed impact chemical rounds to deter an attack without ending a life. No permit required, legal in all 50 states. It's designed to de-escalate while keeping you firmly in control. People carry the Byrna because they value life and because they believe in defense, not revenge, and because sometimes power isn't about how loud you can yell. It's about how prepared you are when no one else is coming. This isn't about fear. This is about not being at anybody's mercy but your own. It's Byrna, BYRNA.com. Use their retail store locator to find the nearest location offering live demonstrations, including select Sportsman's Warehouse stores, Byrna retail stores, and authorized premier dealers. It's Byrna, BYRNA.com. 10-second station ID. So while everybody in New York, after they voted for a communist, go on Google and like, what's communism? Thank God you know what it is. I just showed you the stats I mean, it's a wonder why these cities, I mean, how do you keep making the same mistake over and over again? How do you not try something new? That's the definition of insanity. You want to talk about a mental health problem in America? There it is. Go to the major cities and look how they vote. Year after year after year after year, and nothing changes. Okay, so I just said, these stats and what the mayor of New York, or the possible mayor of New York, is now suggesting he's going to do. When I said they don't shout, these things whisper, I want you to understand that destruction, when it comes dressed in ideology, that's when it's really dangerous. It rarely comes dressed in fireworks. It comes in policies passed under the, now listen to this carefully, under the cover of compassion. It comes in tax hikes that are just, not there to help the little person and to target only the rich. In regulations that are passed because we have to protect. It's in the quiet shuttering of businesses that no longer see a future. These are not tanks in the streets. They're forms and fees, headlines and hashtags. It whispers because shouting would give the game away. If the American public truly saw in one violent burst what these trends mean, a $56,000 debt per taxpayer in Detroit, violent crime rates that rival failed states, population decline, not from war, but from policy. We have refugees from New York. We have refugees from California. If you saw that in one burst, people would revolt. But when collapse comes by degrees, you can ignore it, and they're counting on that. You can rationalize it. You can politicize it. And those with power, they prefer it that way. Tyranny doesn't usually come in the front door and just kick the door down. It draws the blinds. It dims the lights a bit, turns down the thermostat 1 degree at a time. It whispers destruction. Because if it shouted, the country might wake up. These stats, what's happening on our streets, what is coming because our school whispered these lies to our children. Our schools never taught what communism really is. Our kids, ask them what civics are. What are civics? They won't have any idea. None. Do you even know what civics are? Yesterday, I told you about the torch. I told you that in January, I am starting something new. I'll still be doing radio, and I'll still be doing this, but I am on a new mission, and I am wildly motivated to do this. We will not survive if we don't know civics. We will not survive if we don't know what communism is. We will not survive if we don't know why this country is worth saving. Right now, can your kids defend America? And I don't mean with a gun. Can they meet somebody on the street and actually defend it and hold their own? Actually win the argument with facts, not with shouting, not with signs, not with Molotov cocktails, but with facts. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. We have got to change this because it's whispered lies for decades now to us and our children. And you're seeing it all. We're seeing the United States as rotted fruit on the tree, and it is about to drop into the hands of very bad tyrants.
This is Glenn Beck.
So everything in the world right now tells you hustle, hustle, hustle. More screen time, more output, more news, more content, more chaos. And then you finally collapse into bed and you're supposed to magically reset and rest. That doesn't happen by accident. Cozy Earth makes the things that you put right up against your skin matter. The sheets, the loungewear, the comforters, all made from natural material that is actually so unbelievably soft. It breathes, it regulates temperature, and it will help your body relax. So, yeah, it's soft, but more than that, it is really calming. It feels like a signal to your nervous system that says it's safe to slow down now. I want you to imagine no sweating, no clinging, no waking up in the middle of the night wondering why your bed feels like a hot box. This is rest as a lifestyle, and that's what you get with Cozy Earth. They offer a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. That means if you're not in love with any of their products, you can send them back. So go to CozyEarth.com. Use the promo code BECK for up to 40% off their best-selling temperature-regulating sheets, apparel, and so much more. You're going to feel the difference. You're going to love it. It's CozyEarth.com, promo code BECK. CozyEarth.com, promo code BECK.
Big changes are ahead, transforming history and how we learn about it. Keep track right now and go to glennbeck.com.
You know, the good thing is the possible next mayor from New York, Mamdani, is, at least he's not a fraud. Have you seen, I want to welcome Jason Buttrill in with us. He is our head researcher and writer on the program for the TV program, the Wednesday night specials. Have you seen all of the videos of him just using different accents?
It's like a cartoon character, almost.
It really is. I mean, we have seen this. The Democrats have this thing that they just like to do accents. It's the weirdest thing. But here's NBC News asking him about the several different accents that he uses when he's around, people with accents. Listen.
Because I think that New Yorkers, more than they hate a politician they disagree with, they hate a politician they can't trust.
On the subject of trust, you've adopted different speaking accents in different scenarios.
But they go to their local bodega.
Is there one that's real and one that's affected?
What I would say is, as any immigrant knows, having been born in Kampala, Uganda, and then raised in South Africa and moving here when I'm 7 years old, is there are different parts of my life.
Worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour.
Mamdani was talking about a worldwide press tour back when he was a rapper.
Bring the flavor to the fish, bring the flavor to the rice.
In a Disney movie directed by his mother.
Nepotism and hard work goes a long way. Here in New York City, this is how I speak.
It goes a long way. Unless I'm running for mayor, then I no longer talk like this. What a fraud!
He was channeling. It was like channeling The Simpsons in some of those. Actually, channeling The Simpsons.
I am Abu. I don't know it. Anyway. So then, if that's not bad enough, here's what he said if Benjamin Netanyahu ever comes to New York City, cut 12.
And Mayor Mamdani, would you welcome Prime Minister Netanyahu to New York City for whatever he comes for, given the U.S. is not a signatory to the ICC, so he can travel to the U.S., unlike a lot of other countries. Would a Mayor Mamdani welcome Benjamin Netanyahu to the city?
No. As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a city that our values are in line with international law. It's time that our actions are also.
Even though the U.S. is not a signatory to the ICC?
No, it's time that we actually step up and make clear what we are willing to do to showcase the leadership that is sorely missing in the federal administration.
Unbelievable. So the guy will not enforce the U.S. laws. There's no bail. Don't worry about it. We're going to get rid of those, minimum sentencing things. And if you're here illegally, don't worry. But if Benjamin Netanyahu comes, who is in violation apparently of the international court that nobody really recognizes, we've got to stand up for the law. We've got to do it. Oh my God. It's going to be interesting to see how this all works out there, isn't it? And by the way, you should look communism up if you don't know what it is. And Islamicism, he's an Islamist as well. So that's really good. And when they say we're going to globalize the Intifada, I want you to really understand. I'm going to say this. I'm going to try to be like a cuckoo clock every 15 minutes, just saying this until people really get it. When they say globalize the Intifada, they don't mean talk about Israel everywhere in the world. What they mean is attack the Western world. The Western world is as bad as Israel. So get them. It means your country, if you're in the West, is Israel to them, and you are a Jew to them. That's what that means. It doesn't mean, you know what, we should hold some conferences to talk about what's happening in Israel. That's not what globalize the intifada means. Am I wrong, Jason?
No, and this is crazy because usually, Glenn, when you make a prediction, like when you say something crazy, like communists, radicals, Islamists will work together, usually they don't deliver the mascot of your prediction and make them mayor of a major U.S. city. Like,
it's
what?
Crazy. It's crazy what is happening.
It's crazy.
Right. And you know what? And here's the amazing thing is the media is still complicit with all of us, with all of this. Let me play what we have been arguing about. Some have been arguing about Tulsi Gabbard saying, there's no evidence that Iran is making a bomb. You've heard that. Let me play the audio that was in the press over the last few weeks. Here it is. Cut 8, please.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Okay. Now, just for any of you who believed that, because I heard that from conservatives, Tulsi Gabbard said, there's nothing here. Well, let's not take it out of context, shall we? Let's listen to her full statement. See if it sounds a little different. Cut 7.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
Wait, what?
Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance.
Wait, what?
Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
Oh, wait, hold it just a second. That sounded like the opposite of what the media was saying. Am I wrong on that, Jason?
No, and that was very typical in what you see from intelligence circles, where they give one explanation where she's talking about, well, we haven't seen the Ayatollah publicly come out and say, yes, we're building a nuclear weapon. Yes, that's obvious. That's the first part, and that's the only thing that the media was talking about, a couple weeks ago. Then you get the second part where she's like, yeah, but enriching all this uranium, I don't know. What else could that be? Who else goes beyond 60% enrichment for uranium? Gee, I wonder what they're moving towards. So there was part of it supplied to give diplomatic cover. The second part, which was the obvious, they're moving towards a nuclear weapon.
So isn't it true that what the media did here last week with all the panicans is the briefings, correct me if I'm wrong, you would know this. The briefings, if I'm asking for a briefing on something, the way a president or the way these research papers come down for full briefings with the intelligence community is you get 3 scenarios. You get the best case, you get the most likely, and then you get the worst case. And when all these leaks came out last week saying, no, they don't have any possibility of having, there's nothing there, you were only getting one of the 3 reports. Is that right?
You're the only single person I've heard talk about that with any kind of factual information on how the intelligence community really works.
Well, I don't have it. Maybe you do. Maybe you have the actual fact. That's my understanding of it. You give me the actual facts on it.
So basically, after Iraq, the intelligence community moved away from, before what we would say is, Mr. President, this is in the Oval Office, Mr. President, we have a 90% probability that there are weapons of mass destruction within Saddam Hussein's regime. Well, that backfired. So now we're like, okay, we're going to stop doing that. We're going to change the way we deliver some of this information. So let's put it in the context of today and the nuclear weapons. We now give a low probability, which is what you heard on CNN, the New York Times. They'll give you a low probability.
And that's all you heard. That's all you heard.
That's all you heard.
Just the low probability. Yes.
So they'll be like, okay, so there's a low probability that we did nothing, that all we did was cause a cave-in. Why do they give the low probability? Well, they want the president to have options. So if he wants to respond to, if that ends up being correct, then they can respond in turn. But then they also give 2 more. They'll give a moderate probability of what they think might have happened. Then they'll give another probability, which is mostly destroyed, nuclear program set back 3 to 10 years or whatever. Now, it could be either one of those 3. And it's to give options. But what happened was some partisan, someone that wants to derail all this, which we need to find out who it was within the intelligence community or within the staff.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
We need to find him.
You know what? That will happen right after we put the people with the auto pen in jail.
Right. They can sit next to the SCOTUS leaker, as well. Maybe we'll find that one too.
Exactly right.
But yeah, they need to find that person because they just delivered purely for partisan reasons, purely to derail. They gave that to CNN and the New York Times. That's how ridiculous this is. And I know somebody at CNN or the New York Times knows how the IC really works. So one of them knows. One of them said, this is not really correct. There's a couple of other options they probably gave. We just didn't get it yet. They didn't even bother telling us about that. It's such crap.
This is, we try, and I think we're going to get much better at it because I'm just going to focus in January. We really try to give you the perspective that you need to understand these things. If you didn't know that, you would be wrestling with who's lying to me then. The intelligence community says they didn't destroy anything, that nothing happened. So why is the president lying? Or why is the military lying? Or why is the media lying? Well, it turns out the media and somebody in the government are lying to you because they're doing it through omission. Not commission, omission, which is just as bad. There is more information. There's 2 other possibilities. They have to give 3. And you only heard 1. And it was presented to you as that's the official stance. It's not. It's not. Now, who leaked that? What was their intent? Why did they leak it? Why did no one in the media who, I know there are Jasons in other media outlets, or there should be, people who have intelligence backgrounds. How come they haven't talked about it? How come they didn't stand up in their own, company and go, wait a minute, guys, this is not right? And if they did, who stopped it from being changed? And why? If we are going to restore our country, we have to restore trust. And restoring trust means restoring the truth. There is such a thing as the truth. Now, what is the truth on how degraded the nuclear capability is? I don't know. But I will tell you there's 3 scenarios. Nothing. We've set them back for 10 years, or we've done some damage. That's what you should have known. There are 3 scenarios. And I look at that and go, well, thanks a lot, guys. I knew those 3 scenarios before you came into my office to brief me on those 3 scenarios. But the reality is, here's the real truth. Until you have someone on the ground Until you have somebody actually looking at you can't figure this out from space. Once you have somebody on the ground that can go through it and see the damage, you don't really know. But you didn't hear that either, did you? You know, I've said this before, and it's a kind of a ripoff of Thomas Jefferson. He said it about newspapers. Let me say it about social media. If you read nothing, you are better educated and more well-informed than if you just read only social media. Because you're being manipulated like crazy, foreign and domestic. Back in just a second. Let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's realestateagentsitrust.com. Look, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can get a real estate license in most states in about 6 weeks. Kind of a problem. I mean, problem for you if you're trying to sell your house. Selling your home is not an open house hobby. It's a very serious process that involves a ton of strategy and experience. It's pricing, it's timing, it's negotiation, it's contract law, it's local market insight, and sometimes it's the difference between a clean exit and a costly mistake. Trust me, I have seen it over and over and over again. With Real Estate Agents I Trust, a company that I built with my brother years and years ago, we have found a network of full-time, vetted, results-driven professionals who take their jobs seriously. We started with the 500 best real estate agents in the country, according to the Wall Street Journal, and we found out what made them tick and what made them one of the best, and then we went and looked for more of them. We may not have one in your area, but call us, contact us, tell us where you're moving and moving from and moving to, whether it's across the street or across the country. And we'll help you get the job done by finding the best agent, in our opinion, in your area. realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com.
More Glenn Beck coming up next.
So Donald Trump is at NATO, and it was, I'm seeing a little bit of a change in NATO, just a little bit. Yesterday, the NATO general referred to Donald Trump as daddy, and lo and behold, the White House issues Daddy's Home by Usher in a great video. We'll try to play it for you a little later on in the program. Also, I had a guest on yesterday who is plain spoken. She's with the Times of London. Melanie Phillips talks about the West's battle with Islamism and what is really happening over in England. Because, gang, we're next.
This is Glenn Beck.